Welcome back to my channel Zorvax Animal. Today we are going to talk about Kangaroo versus Dingo and discover what would happen if Australia's powerful jumping fighter faced the dangerous wild hunter in a brutal survival battle deep inside the Outback. Far across the dry Australian wilderness where hot winds move through dusty grasslands and rocky terrain stretches endlessly beneath the burning sun, a massive red kangaroo stands near a small water source, its muscular legs and powerful tail showing incredible strength built for survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. While nearby, hidden between dry bushes and rocks, a hungry dingo silently watches the giant kangaroo with sharp eyes and patient focus because unlike the kangaroo, the dingo is a natural predator, fast, intelligent, and dangerous enough to hunt animals much larger than itself whenever the perfect opportunity appears. The atmosphere across the Outback slowly becomes tense as the kangaroo notices movement nearby and immediately rises taller on its hind legs, using its powerful tail for balance while preparing to defend itself because kangaroos are far more dangerous than many predators expect, capable of delivering brutal kicks strong enough to seriously injure attackers with razor-sharp claws attached to their feet. The dingo begins circling slowly through the dust, searching carefully for weakness while staying just outside kicking range, because one direct strike from the kangaroo could end the fight instantly. And for several long moments both animals stare at each other beneath the burning Australian sun while wind moves across the dry land around them. Suddenly the dingo attacks with explosive speed, charging toward the kangaroo's side in an attempt to force panic and confusion. But the kangaroo reacts instantly by jumping backward with incredible agility before striking forward with a powerful kick that barely misses the predator's head, sending dust flying everywhere across the battlefield. Furious growls echo through the wilderness as the dingo quickly retreats before attacking again from another angle, using speed and sharp instincts to pressure the larger animal, while the kangaroo continues defending itself aggressively with powerful jumps, heavy kicks, and intimidating posture. The battle quickly transforms into a dangerous contest between survival and predatory skill because the dingo relies on patience, quick attacks, and endurance while the kangaroo depends on raw leg strength, defensive power, and explosive movement to stay alive. As heat rises across the Australian Outback and tension spreads through the dusty air, the deadly confrontation between the giant kangaroo and the wild dingo moves toward an even more brutal stage where only the toughest survivor will remain standing in the harsh wilderness. The burning heat of the Australian Outback grows even harsher as the sun climbs higher above the endless rocky plains, and after surviving the dingo's first aggressive attacks, the giant kangaroo now stands alert near the dusty water source with powerful muscles tightening beneath its thick fur while heavy breathing shows that the dangerous encounter is slowly becoming more serious, because unlike ordinary prey animals, the kangaroo refuses to run immediately and instead prepares to defend itself against the predator threatening its territory. While nearby, the wild dingo circles patiently through the dry grass with sharp eyes fixed directly on the larger opponent, understanding that one careless move could result in devastating injury from the kangaroo's famous kicks capable of breaking bones with incredible force. Hot wind moves across the empty wilderness while silence spreads around the battlefield, and for several tense moments both animals continue studying each other carefully beneath the blazing Australian sky. Suddenly the dingo changes strategy and begins moving faster around the kangaroo in wide circles, attempting to confuse and exhaust the larger animal through constant pressure. But the kangaroo remains balanced using its thick muscular tail while turning quickly to keep the predator directly in front of it, refusing to expose its back where danger becomes greatest. Dust rises into the air as the dingo suddenly charges again with explosive speed, leaping toward the kangaroo's leg in an attempt to weaken its movement. But the giant marsupial reacts instantly by jumping sideways before launching a brutal double kick forward with terrifying power. The dingo barely escapes the attack at the last second as the kangaroo's sharp claws slash through the air, only inches away from the predator's face, forcing the hunter backward across the rocky ground. Furious growls echo through the wilderness while the kangaroo pounds the earth aggressively with its feet, showing that it will not surrender easily despite the predator's constant attacks. The dingo now realizes that defeating such a powerful opponent alone will require patience, intelligence, and perfect timing rather than reckless aggression. And immediately the predator becomes calmer and more strategic, slowly stalking closer whenever the kangaroo lowers its guard for even a brief second. Heat waves shimmer across the dusty land while exhaustion slowly begins affecting both animals, And deep inside the harsh Australian wilderness, the brutal survival battle between strength and predatory instinct moves toward an even more dangerous stage where every attack becomes more deadly than before. The harsh Australian wilderness grows more dangerous as dark clouds slowly begin covering the blazing sky. And after a long and exhausting struggle, both the kangaroo and the dingo are now covered in dust, sweat, and small injuries from repeated attacks. Yet neither animal is willing to back away because survival instinct continues pushing them toward an even more brutal confrontation across the rocky outback. The giant red kangaroo stands near a cluster of stones, breathing heavily while its powerful legs remain ready to strike at any second, because even though exhaustion is slowly affecting its speed, the marsupial still possesses enough strength to end the battle instantly with one clean kick, while nearby the dingo moves silently through dry grass with glowing eyes locked onto the larger opponent, carefully studying every movement and searching for the smallest weakness that could finally shift the fight in its favor. Strong wind moves across the empty plains while thunder rumbles in the distance, creating a tense atmosphere around the battlefield, as both animals continue circling one another through the dust. Suddenly the dingo changes tactics completely and begins attacking from shorter distances before quickly retreating again, forcing the kangaroo to constantly defend itself and waste energy through repeated movement. And slowly this strategy begins creating pressure because the kangaroo's breathing becomes heavier while its reactions start slowing after every powerful jump and kick. Sensing weakness growing, the dingo suddenly launches a fast attack toward the kangaroo's side and manages to slash its leg with sharp teeth before jumping backward again. Furious growls echo across the outback as the wounded kangaroo reacts with explosive anger, charging forward with massive leaps and swinging powerful kicks toward the predator. But the dingo narrowly escapes each attack through speed and agility, refusing to fight directly where the kangaroo's strength becomes most dangerous. Dust storms rise around them while both animals continue their terrifying battle across the rocky ground. And for the first time, the kangaroo begins realizing that endurance may become a bigger problem than strength itself, because every defensive movement drains more energy, while the dingo continues staying patient and focused like a true hunter. Lightning flashes across the dark Australian sky as the predator circles closer once again. And deep inside the wild outback, the brutal struggle between the fearless kangaroo and the deadly dingo moves toward its final and most dangerous stage, where only one survivor may remain standing beneath the storm. Green Circle Part 4. The dark storm finally reaches the Australian outback as powerful winds roar across the rocky plains and lightning flashes through the sky, turning the battlefield between the kangaroo and the dingo into a terrifying scene of dust, rain, and chaos. While both animals are now badly exhausted after hours of constant fighting, yet neither one is willing to surrender because survival has become more important than fear or pain, and every movement now could decide who escapes alive from the harsh wilderness. The giant red kangaroo stands near a rocky hill, breathing heavily while rainwater runs down its thick fur, its injured leg shaking slightly from the dingo's earlier attack. But even wounded, the massive marsupial remains extremely dangerous, with powerful legs still capable of delivering deadly kicks strong enough to crush bones instantly if the predator gets too close, while nearby the dingo circles patiently through the storm with glowing eyes filled with focus and determination, because the hunter now understands that the kangaroo is weakening slowly, and that patience is finally creating an advantage. Thunder crashes above the outback while the kangaroo suddenly charges forward aggressively in frustration, using huge leaps to force the predator backward across the slippery ground. But the dingo reacts quickly and avoids direct contact by moving around rocks and bushes with incredible agility, continuing to attack only when safe opportunities appear. Suddenly the predator launches another fast strike toward the kangaroo's injured leg, biting deeply before retreating again into the rain-filled darkness, and the giant marsupial roars loudly while kicking wildly at the empty air, growing more exhausted and desperate with every failed counterattack. The battle now transforms into a brutal war of endurance because the dingo uses speed, intelligence, and patience while the kangaroo relies on raw power and defensive aggression to survive. And slowly the harsh environment itself begins helping the smaller predator, as mud and rain make movement harder for the larger animal. Lightning briefly illuminates both fighters standing face to face beneath the storm, showing injuries, exhaustion, and determination burning inside them as the wilderness around them falls completely silent. The kangaroo knows its strength is fading, while the dingo senses that the final opportunity is getting closer with every passing second. And deep inside the dangerous Australian outback, the deadly survival battle moves toward one last violent confrontation where instinct, endurance, and timing will finally decide the winner. The storm slowly begins to disappear as the first light of morning spreads across the Australian outback. And after a long and brutal battle, the kangaroo and the dingo now face each other for the final time among the rocky plains and muddy ground, both exhausted, injured, and breathing heavily after hours of non-stop fighting, while silence covers the wilderness around them because even nature itself seems to wait for the outcome of this deadly survival struggle. The giant red kangaroo stands weakly near the edge of a rocky hill with trembling legs and deep bite wounds across its injured side. But despite pain and exhaustion, it still raises itself defensively, using its thick tail for balance because survival instinct refuses to let it surrender completely, while nearby the wild dingo slowly moves through the wet dust